than his daytime core body temperature. Now, obviously, if my core body temperature went down by 19 degrees, they would use that information to calculate when I had expired. But the sloth does that every day. Also, the sloth has so little in his energy budget, or her energy budget, that it cannot make milk for its babies except for a very short time. They have no milk storage system. They make the milk drop by drop as the baby eats it, and they do not store milk at all. Now, if you read on various websites, it will tell you that a sloth makes milk for only 3 to 6 weeks, and that's it. The San Diego Zoo published a study recently in their knowledge base that says that it is gender dependent, that a male baby sloth eats milk only for 15 days and a female baby sloth only for 27 days. But any way you slice it, not very long. And of course the San Diego Zoo is going to be referring exclusively to two-fingered sloths, so it could be where they're saying 6 weeks, that's a three-fingered sloth. Not sure on that. But the mothers are good mothers. They do stay with their babies longer than they nurse them with milk. But after they're done nursing them with milk, they are simply teaching them how to survive in the world. The two-fingered sloth will stay with its baby for somewhere around 4 months. The three-fingered sloth may stay with its babies for as much as 2 years. But after they wean their baby, they are entirely solitary creatures. They come together only to mate, and that is only less than, once in 2 years, or right at once in 2 years maybe. Different for different breeds of sloths, but rarely, to say the least. The sloths, so I mentioned that they eat a tremendous amount of food, and if we get him to hang down here for a quick second, you guys can get some really excellent photos. So if you just lead him to come down after he gets done chewing. You have your camera? Okay, good. So if you get him to come down, hey, come here, Flash. What are you doing, Bubba? Usually hangs down all the time. Hey, come here. Alright, so when he's hanging down, you're welcome to stand approximately this close to the sloth to take your selfies. You're welcome to stand on both sides of him. I'll take your picture for you together if that's what you prefer. And so just give him his food like that. And I'll be happy to take you some pictures. Get my reading glasses going.
Thank you.
You take some selfies too, sometimes they're kind of cute.
A slothy.
So, yeah, slothy, there you go. I never even thought of that. I've been doing this for quite a while. So, I mentioned that they eat a tremendous amount of food. When I say a tremendous amount of food, I'm talking about 10% of their body weight every single day. So even though the sloth is eating 10% of his body weight every single day, he goes to the bathroom only once in 7 to 10 days. And when he does eventually go to the bathroom, it is going to be epic. So if the sloth eats 10% of his body mass every day and goes to the bathroom only after 10 days, that means he has possibly eaten 100% of his body weight since he last went to the bathroom. He is not going to eliminate 100% of his body weight. He does metabolize the food very thoroughly, just it's of very little nutritional value. So when the sloth does eventually go to the bathroom, he is going to eliminate 1/3 of his total body mass when he goes to the bathroom. So put that to human perspective. I weigh 180 pounds.
Oh.
I have a radio on him in the camera though.
Scares me.
He's a riot. So the sloth, when he I weigh 180 pounds. So if I was going to eat 10% of my body weight every single day, that's me rolling into Outback and saying, bring me 18 of the 16-ounce porterhouse steaks. And I'm going to plow through them all right now. And then if I was going to eliminate 1/3 of my total body mass, when I went to the bathroom, we're talking about 60 pounds. So it would mean that my body, I would start. He never does because Georgie hates it. You gotta call him. So that would mean I'd start from 180 and I'd eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And then when I got to about 240, kaboom, back to 180 in 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to see how a sloth goes to the bathroom, you could back up in our videos for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And you would find one where there's a sloth hanging on a tree like this, and the cover of the video says sloth potty dance, and you can see how a sloth goes to the bathroom. The sloth, when he goes to the bathroom, he comes all the way down to the floor of the rainforest. That is an insane thing to think about a sloth doing, because when the sloth is in the top of the tree, is that if he's bothering you, I can get rid of him.
No, it's okay. It
So-
just scares me.
Well, let me
When
just
he-
put him away.
Well, no, like that. It just when he like pops
It
up,
startles
it's like,
you,
oh,
yeah.
hello.
So when the sloth is in the tree, he's entirely safe from predators with the exception of eagles. The other animals that would like to eat the sloth are too heavy to walk out to the end of the branch. His eyes are geared to pick up motion. When he sees something moving towards him, he's end of the branch, end of the branch, end of the branch, and he gets all the way out to the end of the branch. Oh, good, you're being a pain. He gets all the way out to the end of the branch, and then the predator, if he tries to follow him all the way out to the end of the branch, and the branch breaks, and they both fall 100 feet all the way to the rainforest floor, the sloth will almost certainly survive, and the cat will almost certainly die. So the sloth will look over the dead cat and he'll say, "Ha, ha," and back up the tree he will go. So even though he's safe in the top of the tree, yet he comes all the way down the tree, same side of the tree, to go to the bathroom in the exact same place that he always goes. Even in captivity they do that. So if you look at his room in here, you'll see that there's only shavings in one place. That's where he goes to the bathroom. Don't need it everywhere else. So he comes down, same tree, same side of the tree to go to the bathroom in the exact same place that he always goes. When he comes down the tree, the reason for that is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. So in the wild, not in captivity, but in the wild, sloths need moths and moths need sloths. So when the sloth comes down the tree, it is because of the moths. When he comes down the tree, he's going to get his hiney all the way to the ground, and he is going to eliminate. He's going to do it in 2 or 3 minutes, so the sloths need to be quick about the moths need to be quick about their business. And when he comes down, he's going to get his hiney right to the ground. The moths, which there can be 125 to 150 moths living in the sloth's fur at all times. The moths are going to fly down into the waste pile, lay their eggs, get back up onto the sloth. Hope, is that faith, hope, love, or hope of the name?
No, just hold.
Okay, 3 of my llamas are faith, hope, and love.
Oh,
My
that's
newest
cute.
llamas. I thought maybe it went up. Anyway, so squirrel. I get distracted by things. So anyway, the moths lay their eggs in the sloth's waste pile, get back to the sloth quick as they can. Then from there, it's row, row, row your boat. So this week's eggs are next week's larvae or the following week's moths. So every time that he comes down the tree, there are more new moths to fly up and live their whole life on the sloth. There is a type of moth in the world called a sloth moth that lives nowhere on earth except in the fur and in the waste pile of a sloth. It is a symbiotic relationship, meaning beneficial to both sides. Of course, parasitic would be beneficial to one, neutral or harmful to the other. And the nature of that symbiosis is that the moths are eating the moss and algae that is all in the sloth's fur. The benefit to the sloth is multifaceted. So the primary benefit to the sloth that he cannot live without is as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves. That's a small protein source. And he licks up a certain amount of the waste of the moths. And the waste of the moths are how the sloth gets his bacteria colony that digests his food. If the sloth's moth colony dies out, the sloth will die with it. And the sloth will die of starvation because it will lose the ability to digest without the moths. Now, we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last throughout our lives without us giving it a second thought unless we take a large amount of antibiotics. If your doctor prescribes you a long course of antibiotics, they're going to tell you need some probiotics or some Greek yogurt. Either way, fix your gut health back up. He lives in the rainforest. He can't get to GNC or Publix, so no Greek yogurt, no probiotics. So his replacement gut bacteria come from the waste of the moths. As the sloth grooms himself, he licks up their waste. That's the gut bacteria. Now, ours last throughout our life unless we take antibiotics. His lasts unless he gets cold. In the wild, he gets cold from time to time and has to replace his gut bacteria. In captivity, we never let a sloth get cold, so his gut bacteria will last forever. Now, if there was a problem with his gut bacteria, there are things we can do to fix it. But ideally, you just never let them get cold. They never have a problem with their gut bacteria. And as long as you maintain their temperature, humidity, and diet properly, you should never run into problems with it. But there is a lot that goes into keeping a sloth alive. Excuse me. Whenever I'm on a live, I always do a disclaimer, especially holding the babies, to say, please don't see what we're doing here and think it's a good idea to go out and buy a sloth. It is absolutely not. So our sloths are many generations captive bred. Generationally, these are further from the rainforest than I am from the American Revolution. And this is like the difference between a house cat that a kitten was born to your other house cat. It grew up in your house, it sits in your lap and purrs and snuggles and you stroke it and pet it and everybody has a wonderful time. Compared to if you grabbed a feral cat out of the forest and try to have it sit in your lap, that thing's going to claw your eyeballs out trying to get away, right? So there is no reputable breeder of sloths who will sell a sloth to a private individual who isn't licensed as a zoo, but it is legal to own a sloth. So there are many people on the internet who hold themselves out to be sloth breeders and are selling sloths. But these sloths are captured from the rainforest. Their average lifespan coming from the rainforest to captivity is about 2 months, and it is not going to look anything like the sloths here. Please don't do that. And if you go to a sloth encounter, please look before you book. This guy does 1 hour of encounters per day. The other two do 2 hours of encounters per day, and that's it. Sloth needs a lot of time to eat and rest, and we don't want to interrupt his eating and resting cycle. So since it is not just all about the money here, 1 hour for him, 2 hours for the other two, that's all that we do. Which I'm sure you've experienced that it can be a little hard to book here because, you know, there's limited spots. But anyhow, disclaimer done, back to the sloth. Some other things about the sloth that we haven't talked about. Oh, sorry. The benefits to the sloth. The sloth also benefits that the moths are fertilizing the moss and algae that are in the sloth's fur via their waste. So more moss and algae, more disguise from predators. So they benefit in that way. And then the third way, which is too long to explain, really in the weeds, but you could look it up if you wanted to, are peptids and leptids. A 3-toed sloth, when it comes down to the ground to go to the bathroom, it uses that little 3-vertebra tail and digs a hole in the waste pile before it goes. And when he's digging the hole, that puts him in direct contact with all the poop and sloth and some moths and all the stuff in there. And the larvae crawl up the sloth, as well as the moths fly onto the sloth. So the 3-toed has more moths on it per square inch than a 2-toed does, and the 3-toed has certain blood changes that he benefits from there being even more moths. Hard for me to imagine being that size and having 150 bugs crawling on me every day of my life. Whew, can't get my head around that, but that's the way they roll. I mentioned at the very start of this that he can't see the difference between your finger and the food. The reason for that is the sloth's eye structure is called rod monochromacy, which means they have all rod cells, no cone cells, monochromatic vision, all black and white. They see horribly. I mean, you can have good vision in black and white, but they see horribly. Their eyes are primarily designed to pick up motion. So anything that's coming towards a sloth is bad for a sloth. You know, just get to the end of the branch and stay there. So their eyes are geared to pick up motion. So, you know, with most prey animals, they have, you know, a wider field of vision, not forward-facing vision the way that a predator animal does. The sloth has forward-facing vision, but it has more motion detection in its vision than most other things do. So because their sense of sight is so poor, their sense of smell and hearing is absolutely wonderful. So for better or worse, the sloth knows what I smell like and he knows what I sound like. My monotone voice may not be great for the camera. Some people on TikTok from time to time say they don't like my voice, and I tell them change the channel. But anyhow, the sloth likes it just fine. And when we open his door and say, "Hey, Flash," he comes scurrying right down.
Oh.
If I'm late to get down here, you'll see all the smears are on his side of the glass, where he'll have his nose on the glass going, "Come on, it's time for the thing. Let's do the thing." And then he'll start to beat the heck out of the door like this. So, if a sloth is telling you to shake a leg, you know you got to check your life, right? So anyhow, the sloth is absolutely locked onto his schedule.